Welcome to the Right Club podcast, where the focus is on helping you, the real estate investor, advance to the next level. And now let's join this week's hosts and share ways for you to customize your life.
I heard you a couple of years ago, before COVID, do a brilliant presentation about JVs. And can you give us 2 or 3 top tips for setting up good JVs with partners?
Yeah, I mean, I think the number one tip is talking about and making sure you have documented in the JV. First and foremost, like what happens if stuff goes badly, right? I mean, it's really easy to flush in and talk about and have in the agreement all the good things, like, okay, you and me are working together, Daniel, and I'm gonna be the one on title and go on the mortgage, and I'm going to chip in, $50K, and then you're going to be the active partner, handle all the trades and everything else behind the scenes. And, everybody's expected rate of return is, X, right? I mean, that's easy to put in and obviously needs to go in the JV, but I think it's really important, and not enough people spend enough time on like the what ifs of like, we don't like each other anymore, or what if this project doesn't succeed, right? Because maybe that's a little bit more possible in today's world, right? Like the market is not such a potential shoe-in if it's like, hey, do the BRRRR method, and you're trying to exit in a couple of years, right? And get that guaranteed like institutional loan and get the private off, right? Like it might not be as easy to do that now as it was, a couple of years ago, right? So I think the first thing I'd always suggest and encourage investors to do is document the problems, right? Like what could happen, what could cause us to hate each other, not want us to work together, and if these situations happen, how do we exit, right? And if all those things are well documented and signed by everybody at the very beginning or in the first stages of the joint venture, then I think it's a lot harder for people to try to successfully turn around and argue that they're not gonna, they don't have to be accountable to what they've agreed to, right? I think another thing I would suggest is going to like the accountability and like the reliability of the document. Make sure each party has independent legal advice. A lot of people try to like do it themselves, or they have a lawyer draft it for them, but then their investment partner doesn't get it reviewed. And so last thing you want is to be expecting to rely and think that this is going to be a document that you can count on, and then somebody gets it pushed aside by a judge because they didn't have independent legal advice, and so they win some sort of argument with the judge that or the mediator that, hey, there wasn't independent legal advice, so they didn't really know what they were signing, right? So I think dealing with the problems that could happen and like how do you exit, like we call them the exit strategies of the JV, the ILA, those are 2 important ones. And I think the third one would be, because it might be more, again, plausible and possible to happen in today's market, how do you do like additional capital calls and contributions to the JV? So what's the expectation to the parties on there needing to be more money? How does that work? Is there like a dilution or anti-dilution clause in the JV? If one party can put in and the other party can't, what happens then, right? Because you might find projects go over budget now, or you don't get as much money like on the refinance, or whatever. The costs on the projects could go up, or on the opportunity could go up, and you need more capital. So I think those would be 3 tips or suggestions I would recommend with whether it's a JV or a partnership agreement or other. That's probably something to consider between real estate investors.
Thanks for listening to the Right Club podcast, where the focus is on helping all levels of real estate investors advance to the next level and help you customize your life. Be sure to tune in next week at rightclub.com/podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you get a few seconds, please rate the podcast wherever you're listening. It helps the show get noticed by others like you, and we truly appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe.